Last but not least, we have our dear friend slash animator, artist slash comedian, uh, Jorge Gutierrez coming up. But before I bring him on, I just want to say a couple quick things. In your swag bags, there are surveys on orange paper. Please take the time to fill them out and hand them in at the door on your way out today. But before we leave today, I want you guys to know that we want to buy you a drink afterwards at a bar around the corner at 5:30. We have a little social from 5:30 to 7. The information is in your packets as well. And so all that being said, without further ado, I'd like to bring up our dear friend, Emmy Award-winning animator and artist, Jorge Gutierrez.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna go through my whole life up until right now in 20 minutes. Here we go. So I apologize to all the parents. I'm a parent. But please build a ladder out of the baby bones of all the stories I'm gonna tell you, right? Because there's gonna be a lot of heartbreak, but learn from my failures. So my talk is called Tacos of Success Are Dripping with a Salsa of Failure. And what I mean by that is success is only delicious when you failed a lot, right? When you win the lottery, that money, you didn't earn it. When you stumble on something amazing, you stumbled on it, you didn't earn it. So it's more delicious when you suffered. Or my journey to Netflix. So this is me. Mexico City. I went to see Star Wars with my dad. He says I was 7 years old, and on the drive home, I was super sad. And I've been super excited to see this movie. And he goes, Jorgito, right? Because I was really little. Jorgito, what? Didn't you like the movie? Aren't you happy? And I go, Papa, did we not make it? And he goes, what? I said, in the future, no one looks like us. Did we not make it? And my dad, being a badass Mexican dad, goes, Jorge, of course we made it. Chewbacca's Mexican. Right? Like your Uncle Chewy. So that's when I started going, I want to make stuff that looks like me. And I'm not seeing it in cartoons, and I'm not seeing it in movies, and I'm not seeing it anywhere. I want to make that stuff. So I grew up in Mexico City, right? Crazy city. The city's literally sinking into the ground. And my dad would joke that the city was trying to kill us every day, right? So as time went by, this is my dad. He's an architect. My mom played the guitar, basically painted, did all the art. So I thought everybody's parents were artists. And I thought that dads were the serious artists, and the moms were the crazy happy artists. But I just assumed everybody's parents were artists. Of course, turned out not to be true. At some point, my father said, I'm tired of Mexico City. There's too much crime. I want to move the family somewhere really safe. This is 1986. At the time, Tijuana was the most dangerous city in the world. And I said, Papa, I'm 9 years old at this point. Papa, why did you move us to Tijuana? And he said, because at least here, when they kill you, they look at you in the eyes. And I was 9, right? So everything I knew about Tijuana was from The Simpsons, and it turned out to be true. All these things happen over there. I'm a middle-class Mexican kid, so I went to public institutions. These places were super cheap, super inexpensive. I got sat down by the family. At this point, I was 13, and I was asked, what are you going to do with your life? And I said, I want to be a writer or a painter or a movie director. That's literally what I said. And my father laughed for like 20 minutes. And then a family friend in the table said, that is animation. You get to write stories, you get to make paintings move, and you get to make movies. So my father said, well, try to find the hardest school in the world to do this. And if you can get in, then you will prove to me you're serious about it. So I go to Cal Arts, which, for a middle-class Mexican, this is impossible to go to the school. It's super expensive. At that time, I've been working, I'm trying to learn how to draw really well. In Tijuana, all the figure drawing classes are basically exotic dancers. So all my figure drawings look like strippers. And I was very accurate about how I drew everything. And so when I showed my portfolio there, I showed figure drawings that the teacher said were inappropriate. And then I did drawings of things I thought Americans wanted to see. So I drew Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny and Bart Simpson, all these things that I thought Americans, this is what they do in animation. I also brought a painting portfolio with all my Mexican paintings because just I assumed, well, this is not what they want to see, but I want to see if I can get into the painting school just for ego, just to see if they would take me in. So this amazing guy, Jules Engel, looks at my portfolio. I'm 17. He looks at my drawings, and he goes, this is shit. Right? He takes my American drawings one by one, and he goes, crap, poop, drinks coffee, puts one down, and literally goes, why do you defecate on my eyes? So he closes my portfolio. Again, I'm 17, right, when this is happening. And he goes, these words tattooed to my soul. You are not an artist. You have no voice. You say nothing. What you showed me, a copy machine could have done this. Go figure out something else to do with your life because an artist you are not. So I'm brokenhearted. I grab my portfolio. I'm leaving, and the universe at that point took pity on me, and I left my painting portfolio literally by accident. So because I'm so sad, I'm walking away really slow. He grabs the painting portfolio. He looks at me. He says, "Hey, sad boy, come back." Because I'm so sad, and I'm walking back, he opens the portfolio, and this is the first painting I had in there, and he goes, what is this? And I tell him, oh, it's a painting about this lady who had an affair with a coyote, and they had half coyote babies. And then I show him another one. He's like, what's this one about? And I basically tell him a story about each painting, and he gets really excited. And he goes, you son of a bitch. Why you no show me this? He was Hungarian. And I said, because I didn't think that's what this school wanted to see. And he said, that is the fucking stupidest thing I've ever heard. He said, why did you paint this? And I said, because I wanted to. He said, that makes you an artist. That's your voice. That's who you are. You didn't do that because you thought we would want to see it. You did that because you needed to do it. That's your voice. If you can keep making stuff like this, maybe if you're lucky, you can make a living out of this. So he let me in. He let me into the school. I got accepted. I did not have the money to go to the school. So first day of signing up, the way the school worked, my parents had saved up. I had been working. I had enough money to go for 0.7 of a year. At that point, I said, I'm just going to do my whole degree in 1 year. If you get 20 units a year, I'm going to do 80 units in 1 year. So I signed up for like 57 units. And I got sent to the dean's office on my first day. And I tell him my story, and he thought it was really funny. And he said, I'll make a deal with you. If you can do 2 years worth of work in 1 year and get a high pass, because CalArts doesn't have grades, I'm going to give you a reward. So I basically kind of went homeless and worked super hard. You're supposed to do 1 short film. I ended up doing 4 my first year. I did stop motion. I did live action. I did everything. After that 1 year, they gave me a full scholarship. So I got to go, did my bachelor's and my master's. Wait. Okay, we're doing good on time. So here was the trick I figured out that I think applies to everyone here. I studied other artists, right? And what I mean by other artists, I meant my contemporaries. And what I found was that everyone has a PhD in procrastination. Artists are so immediately able to not do what they're supposed to do and get so easily distracted. And, I need the right paper, or I need the right paint, or I'm not inspired. And when I got into art school, that became my secret. I figured that out early, and I said, well, you can't control how much talent you're born with, but you can control what you do with your time. So I'm just gonna outwork everybody. So we'd had a design assignment. I would do 10, and I wouldn't turn all 10 in because everybody would hate me, but I would curate it and turn in the best one. And that way, in my mind, I was cheating by outworking everybody. So it was the good kind of cheating. Same thing with writing, right? They would write a short story. I would write 10, curate, try to find the best one, turn that one in. So, and I wasn't telling anybody I was doing this. I thought, oh my God, this is the way to do this. And sure enough, I got better and better and better. I read this book that said every film student has 10 shitty shorts in them. The faster you get them out, the faster you get to the good stuff. So I took that literally. I said, I can't wait to do my 10 shitty shorts. So after doing a lot of shorts, I decided every short will teach me, I'm gonna use it to teach me something. No short will be perfect. No painting will be perfect. Nothing I do will be perfect. It's not about the result. It's about the process, right? Especially as a student. So eventually I make this 8-minute thesis film. It got into the Cannes Film Festival, won a student Emmy. It gets me all these sort of, like I said earlier, the window of Hollywood opened just enough for me to slip my hand in so they can close it. First pitch, right out of the gate, I get rejected a bunch. I get told, how do we know you're funny? How do we know you can make little shorts? I go home, I get a pirate software, a version of Flash. I teach myself Flash. I made a 3-minute short, put it on the internet. People responded to it, and I got called in. I know it sounds easy, but that's how it was, at least at that time. Like I said, how do we know you can do the thing? You do the thing. So I got super screwed at Sony, learned from my mistakes. I go in there with this little short, and they go, we want to make your short. We want to buy 36 of them. We loved it, so we want you to write, direct, voice, do everything, right? So I'm super excited. And then in the room, lawyers and agents go, how much money will each short cost? We want to buy 36. So in my head, right, I'm doing the math. I'm like, well, the first one costs $0. So $5,000? No, 10. No, 15. This is Sony. They have so much money. So out of my mouth comes $17 million. And it was like someone dropped a baby in a pool of sharks. They were just like, oh, they all turned around and they were like, oh, you drive a hard bargain, Mr. Gutierrez. We will accept these terms. Obviously, I got super screwed. Years later, I became friends with one of those producers who told me, we had $150,000 per short budgeted for you. So that's how much you left on the table. So first lesson, when people ask you how much it's gonna cost, you ask them, how much do you want to spend? And then you never talk business. You give that to your manager or agent, because artists, that's not our thing. We should know that stuff, but that 10% or 20% you pay, that is so worth it. So I get screwed, but I got to make my little cartoon, and that was amazing. I got married. That's my wife, Sandra. We got married on Day of the Dead. Life is incredible. I go, I get a work visa. I think this is the greatest country on earth. I love this country. And then they cancel our show. So I'm unemployed. My work visa is running out. There was a show about Mexican wrestling at Warner Brothers, created by 2 amazing artists, one from Malaysia and one from Australia. And they needed Mexicans to work on a show about Mexican culture. So if you can't beat them, join them. I went to work on that show to try to learn how to sell a show. I started doing freelance. I was that one guy who you'd hire to do one design, I'd give you 10. Disney saw our Sony pilot, gave us a pilot. We started working at Disney, things are going great. And then they killed the show. At that point, I started working on other shows. And I basically tell everybody, if you hire me, I will work on your show, but I'm gonna sneak Mexican stuff into it. And everybody sort of was okay with that, but then they canceled that show. So then, at this point, we've had 3 pilots. And so a producer scared the hell out of me and said, if you do 3 pilots and then go to series, you struck out, right? Because of baseball. So I was like, oh, I hate baseball because of that. So I was super scared. We go to Nickelodeon, and this was one of those pitches where after getting so many pilots killed, I said, well, this is our last one. Let's make it about us. Let's put it all in. So El Tigre, this TV show at Nickelodeon, is about a kid who lives with his dad, who's a superhero, and his grandpa, who's a supervillain. And he's born with both of their powers and has to decide if he's going to be good or evil. That's the nugget of the show. Has a best friend who's basically an evil conscience. If he wants to steal a car, she wants to burn it. And that's my life, right? So when I was a little kid, my dad's an architect. My grandpa was a general in the Mexican army. And when I was growing up, I idolized both of them. And my aunts would grab me by the cheeks and say, when you grow up, do you want to be an artist like your dad? Or do you want to go into the military like your grandpa? So that's where that show came from. My wife, ever since we got together, her dad was a doctor, 3 sisters who are doctors. I was, the boyfriend who wanted to be an artist, wanted her to be an artist. So I was the black sheep in that family, and she was a satanic sheep in her family. And so we made the show about that. And the show got picked up. We got to do crazy stuff. We designed everything based on our lives. She drew all the guys, I drew all the girls. We basically based it on everything we had lived. This is some of the stuff I used to pitch it. This is sort of the nugget of the idea. We just kept making art, just sort of generating. We love Mexican culture, obviously. We love the history of Mexico. So the main character is named Manny Rivera. The girl's named Frida Suarez, which is basically Diego Rivera and Frida Kahlo. So things are not going to end up very well for both of them. And then Mexican folklore became our inspiration. All the cartoons we were watching kind of looked the same to us. So we wanted to bring a new flavor into the restaurant. And so we did lots of stuff about Mexico. And, as a Mexican artist, I feel like I had a race card that I could use every once in a while. And this was one of them where I told them, hey, the grandpa has a sombrero made out of gold. And when he's going to fight, the sombrero comes down, and it turns into a robot suit. And all the executives go, what? That doesn't make any sense. And I go, well, if you were Mexican, it would totally make sense. On the drive home, my wife goes, I'm Mexican, and it makes no fucking sense. So the whole show was a love letter to everything we loved, everything we grew up with. At that time, 3.5 million views for a premiere of a show was a record. My wife won the first ever Emmy as a Latina characters designer. The show altogether won 7 Emmys. At that point, we were like, we love this country again. Things can't go better. Boom. They canceled after 1 season. After that, I go to DreamWorks to do Book of Life. This is what it was called originally, El Matador. We started working there for a year. A year into it, regime change. This is when the executives changed and new executives were brought in. And I get told, kid you not, we like your movie, but now we want it to take place in present-day urban New York, and we want it to be a hip-hop salsa reggaeton musical. This is in 2007. And they go, and we want to pair you up with this very talented Broadway artist, Lin-Manuel Miranda, right? So, again, 2006, I go, well, I don't know who that lady is, but I don't want to work. But I'm not working with her, so I quit on the spot, and so they kill the movie. We go back to Disney. I pitched a show about basically a rebellious girl who gets kicked out of these schools for doing the right thing. It's sort of a revolutionary in the schools, and it goes really well. And it's all sort of a metaphor for Latin America and all these things. And then after we do the pilot, they test it. So the show is about a Latina girl who does bad for good, right? That's the pitch. They literally asked, what if she's not Latina? And what if she doesn't break the rules? So I was like, wait a second. So it's about a white girl who's good? And the exec goes, And I go, isn't that every show on Disney Channel? And she goes, so we wouldn't change it, they killed it. So Sandra's pregnant at that point, right? I ran out of our apartment, I yelled to the heavens, is that all you got? Come on! Go back to Nickelodeon. I pitched a show called Super Mario Fighter. It was about video games, and it was about sort of being noble and not letting anything grind you down, and they killed it. So then I go work on Mad TV, doing cartoons, little shorts. At this point, I'm still trying to figure out, like, well, what happened? What's going on with my life? I got hired to do Latino Batman. It was deemed too edgy for Warner Brothers. And you know what I did on the side? I just kept painting. I kept painting just for me. It was the one thing I didn't get notes on. It was the one thing that I didn't depend on anybody for. So I just kept painting on the side. Every time something would die, I would paint. So at that point, I started going, wow, I think I really screwed up my career as an animator. And then out of nowhere, I get a phone call. Hey, we heard you quit your movie at DreamWorks. We want to make your movie. If you were willing to walk away from a $180 million giant DreamWorks movie, we want to know why, and we want to know what you had in mind. So they go, we're a brand new studio. We never made a movie. We're in Dallas. At that point, I've never been to Texas, but I remember the Alamo. And so they go, you have to move to Texas if you want to direct this movie. So I talked to my wife. This is how badass of a Mexican wife she is. She goes, when do we pack up? If they are willing to make your movie, we go there. And so we moved. We thought all our friends would come with us. No one came. So we go over there. We start making Book of Life. We start designing it. I start writing the script. We'll do all the art for all the characters, designing this crazy world. The DreamWorks movie was going to be $180 million. These guys had $25 million, so we needed another $25 million. As you guys heard the Guillermo del Toro story, once we got Guillermo attached as a producer, he helped find the other $25 million. And I learned why you need a big-name producer for something like this. And because I was obsessed with painting, what you guys see at the top is a painting. What you see at the bottom is a shot from the movie. And we got so close, right? So above image is a painting. Below image is a shot from the movie. Really became about the paintings. After Book of Life ended, I was creatively spent. And so there was a contest in Dallas to paint murals. You get $1,000 to paint a mural, and you had to buy the paints. And I entered the contest, and I said, give me the shittiest wall you can find. And so this wall was right next to a biker bar, and this is where all the bikers would pee. And I was like, this, I grew up Catholic, so I was like, this is my penance for having made the movie. I now need to go back into the sun, and the biker urine will destroy me and cleanse my soul. And so I did this mural, and then I had a bunch of leftover paint. Greg Escalante, rest his soul, saw Book of Life, called me, said, hey, you want to do an art show? All I need are 9 paintings. And I had all this paint left over. So I ended up doing 57 paintings. Someone from El Pollo Loco saw that mural, the biker mural. By the way, the bikers loved it because models would go there to take photo shoots. So no one peed on it anymore. El Pollo Loco saw that mural, and then they gave me a crazy campaign to paint, lots of stuff for them. And then I just kept painting for fun. Just making fun of American culture, all the stuff I grew up in the border. Sort of, and again, all this is leftover paint from the murals. So that was my limited palette. I timed it. I was like, I'm going to do a painting every 3 hours, and I'm going to paint 9 paintings at a time. It became sort of a fun challenge. When people would die, the day Bowie died, I painted that. And then what ended up happening was the show, thanks to Heidi, did really well. It was here in LA, lots of paintings sold. I got a book, a book deal out of it. This was the night of the opening. Then we ended up doing more. I started doing a bunch of commissions. And meanwhile, we're traveling all over Mexico, seeing people dressed up as our characters from the movie, which was crazy. I was at a computer conference, and I basically said, I think Macs are bullshit because they're too expensive. It's the one computer that artists need, and schools get them for free, so students get hooked. But then when they go into the real world, they can't afford them. So fuck Macs, that's what I said. So 2 years later, I get a phone call in the middle of the night. It seemed like the mafia was calling me. And they go, hey, are you Jorge Gutierrez? And I said, maybe. And they play me those exact words. Someone in the audience recorded it. And they go, did you say that? And I go, maybe. And I said, we're Microsoft. We want to do a commercial with you about that. So we did a commercial for the Microsoft Surface. We're amongst family. We made more money making this stupid commercial than we did making the movie. So now any talk I give, I say, fuck Tesla. So after that, I'm telling you guys, if you do a panel, insult someone, and whoever hates that someone, they will know. So virtual reality, same thing. I was at another panel. I said, I think VR is bullshit. Google contacted me and said, we want to eat your words. So they hired me to do a virtual reality short about Mexican wrestling. And so we made this crazy short about being a one-legged wrestler. The short was crazy. It was a wrestler who lost his leg, and then his kid became his leg. The short was nominated for an Emmy. It did really good. And so what am I doing on Netflix now? I went into a pitch, and they said, what is something that you don't think you can make anywhere else? Pitched that to us, and I basically said, well, I love mythology, I love Mesoamerican culture, but the more I read about it, it's super sexist, and women tend to be either the prize or the villain. They're never the protagonist. They're never the character in the journey. And all these stories are made up. This is mythology. I want to hack history and tell the story of a female hero from Mesoamerica. I was born out of a Latina. I married a Latina. Hopefully when I die, a Latina's holding me. So this is my love letter to my mom and my grandma and my wife. So I want to leave you guys with one tiny thing, last thing. So from everything you guys saw, hopefully you deciphered it, that every bad thing that happened, something good happened after. Not because of it, but let's say my internet show had gone on, I would have never made it a TV show. If my TV show hadn't been canceled, I never would have made the movie. If I never would have been the movie and been creatively destroyed, I never would have painted that mural. Like every time something bad happened, after you get up, and that's the important part, getting up, something good happened. So I encourage all of you, artists, put positive things into the world. Right? I try to use comedy. That's kind of my secret sauce. I didn't see comedy in art, and so that was the way I got in. I didn't see Mexican things that were funny, so that was my way in. But I try to keep my stuff really positive, and I try to put something good into the world. I think we live in a time where it's super easy to be cynical, and it's super easy to play it cool and tear things down, especially publicly. I think it's more brave, and I think it's more rebellious to be earnest and to put good stuff out there. The new punk rock is emotion. Right? Willing to open yourself. That's the hardest thing now. So I encourage you guys, open yourselves to make stuff that only you can make. So thank you guys.
Jorge Gutierrez, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. Okay, so if you guys want more Jorge, who wants more Jorge? I encourage you to listen to him on our podcast, the Not Real Art podcast. He's hilarious. He tells some amazing stories about his dad and his grandfather that will just rip you up and put you in stitches laughing. So go to notrealart.com to listen to that podcast.